we're looking at a poverty of understanding or wisdom, if you like, it's not that, well, if I force a certain behavior from you, that's no good. I need you to have the values, I mean, from my point of view, that I think will be a blessing to you. So, in some sense, it's not simply that if I change your values, all will be well, or rather that I can't change your values by force. Force would just bring resentment and possible hatred of me, forcing this way on you that you don't want to do. What happens if I use force to change your wants? It's not clear I can do that, can I? What happens if I do it by subtlety without you knowing? As in what we might think negatively as brainwashing, or auto-suggestion that you're not defending yourself against. This would be to get through your current defenses against changing your values. Well, I think you'll agree we find that very suspect, don't we? In fact, we don't like the use of force at all. Force is something of war, of imposing upon, and nobody willingly embraces that, of course. Of course, we're also valuing or hoping for an integrity in the person that wants to bring the change. What constitutes integrity? Bringing change about only by your willing participation, without force upon you, and really without subtle changes. I mean, subtle force put upon you, like manipulation, auto-suggestion, hypnosis, and so on. There's something very suspect about those things, isn't there? We suspect it can't be morally right. An example you might think of, a bit strange, but grandmother would say to Dad, or even was it to me, it is chicken, whereas it wasn't. It was some other sort of meat, and whoever it was at the time would only eat chicken. So, I mean, she's using a lie, a deceit, a deception to bring about an action that she wants, as she sees it for your good, because you should eat whatever this meat was in the sandwich, I suppose, as she sees it. And she's bringing about through deception. We wouldn't feel that's right, would we? I can't quite put my hand on why. I suppose because we're going to be leading a person into doing something that from their present personhood they do not value it. And we should not be the instigators of such change in that way. Perhaps because we cannot be certain that we are right. We don't have the wisdom of God. And nor the purity of God, of course, in benevolence. But, even if we are benevolent, we might not be benevolent enough. So even to change your will by subtle deceit, brainwashing, auto-suggestion, hypnosis, a lie, can't be acceptable to us spiritually. speaking from a godly point of view, you see. In other words, I don't have the right to trespass upon your present values. God has the sovereignty and should have the sovereignty of who you become. And if I try to seize that by some means, specifically by teaching you, I might point out, I teach you what I think is true, what I think is right. This has an effect on your values. I'm at risk of influencing you wrongly in as far as I am not perfectly able, which is the case, isn't it? We have this when children won't eat a certain food. The old-fashioned way was you sit there until you finish the meal, which was pretty horrible, or I'll smack you if you don't do it, and so on and so forth. It was all bad from the child's point of view, and not something that brings about a loving relationship between you and this authority that's bearing down on you. Of course, we've encouraged children to take medicine that tastes terrible by making it flavour sweetly and nice and pleasant. And it is a deception. And the child's not keen until it tastes sweet, and then he will accept it. And of course we would say, well, if the outcome is the child gets better, surely that's important in itself, isn't it? Let me review a minute. I think it's that I can't really trust you if you're willing to change my present values and views without my consent. If I give that consent to you, as in the disciple guru situation, it's not ultimately safe with God, sound with God, because the guru is not God. If you like, in the Old Testament sense, we have a jealous God. We are His. He made us. I mean, assuming this is the case, and this is what we choose to believe. So, because we are of Him, we are Him in a sense. It's just that we're part of Him, part of His creation, you see. But just not aware of it because we're children. So He is anxious, if you like, concerned that we become, as He lovingly, as a perfect dad, you see. He's a perfect dad by assumption, definition. Only He has the right, if you like. Only He should have, by that criteria, by definition, the right to teach us. So, I mean, in some sense, Jesus saying the Holy Spirit, assuming this is the case, speaks only of God. I mean, truly, in that sense, then that would be okay. Even so, I'd be slightly cautious of saying, I'm therefore believing in the Holy Spirit. No, I'm choosing to believe in God only. The Holy Spirit is my comforter, my help, my guide. Is He my teacher? Jesus refers to Him as our teacher. The only teacher you should have is one who truly speaks only me of God. Whereas if I take the role as a teacher, I may not be truly speaking for God, especially with my incompetence, of course. So you should not call me teacher. You should not think of me as teacher, nor take me as teacher, guru or whatever, master, lord, etc., etc. And so I am what I am while in the world, and to that extent I am example to others of good or bad, according to what I am at present, presenting as in the world to others and how they see me. But you should not take that as some authority. It is only what you are observing in the world. You may take to my view, you may not. And that will depend on your current values. It is not right that I take up an opportunity of subtly changing your values so that you do something without your present persona, your present values. Well, I think I'm trying to say I would risk only God doing that. Now, we do that with our children. In some sort of pure sense, we think, oh my goodness, he must take the medicine or he'll die, say, so I've sweetened it and he swallows it and he doesn't die. Well, I mean, okay, you happen to be right in that sense, and good on you, because you loved, and your love was, but you could have done it by mistake because the doctor didn't know what he was doing, for argument's sake, gave you the wrong prescription, or the chemist got it muddled up, and you gave something that was the complete opposite, and the child died. Well, that's a tragic situation. Yes. So ideally, we would not want the parent-child relationship. Don't call any man father. He's saying this: once you come to know God, don't call any man father upon the earth. So the secular might have teachers and gurus and refer to people as father, but strictly speaking, they should only refer to their own parents as father until they embrace in faith their view of God. And they do that, in some sense, as they seize adulthood in this world, and they say, I'm no longer, for instance, following the religion of my parents. I've found a new way, my way, or whatever, but they're taking that, and of course, well, according to how they've been brought up by their parents, actually, and everything else that God allowed in that situation, and their reaction to it, they are choosing accordingly. But God knows that, and it's in His hands now. So you have the right always to step away from your parents. In that sense, I don't mean not to care for them, of course, and provide for them. That would be rotten to do that, wouldn't it? But as regards your independence of view, you always have a right to turn to, in a sense, saying, well, I'm sorry, but now I really feel my God requires me to do this. This is what I understand God to want, and I must put that first. I must put my understanding of my God first. Once I seize adulthood, or if you like, you could say that is seizing adulthood, and it's very wise not to do it too soon. So you stay under the authority of your parents, unless God somehow seizes the situation and has it otherwise. Now, we as a caring society might seize the situation, take you away from, if you like, abominable parents, and try and give you a good adoption or foster home. And in as far as that's a noble act, well, it's a noble act, but of course, an unkind state might not be too noble. Yes, that's true. Let me pause. Look, I've gone down the path of reason here. My gut reaction, I've really used reason to arrive at what my gut reaction was anyway, which is, you know, as secular advice, obey your parents, because God set it up so that parents basically bring children into the world, and you need to be into the world to experience lessons. But there does come a time when you are an adult, in the world's understanding at least, possibly more importantly, when God decides, of course. And the world can't necessarily know that. So it has a sort of rule, like when you're 12 or when you're 18 or when you're 21, you know, don't leave it too late, or you've excluded them ever truly following God in their own right. And they do have to do that. It's no good, in general, following your view of your parents, God, once you've had enough experience to find that your values are not the same as your parents. Now, they may still have authority over you in a very real sense of power, but you, as you become more an adult, will find ways of breaking from this. You just will, anyway. I mean, whether you're seeking the noble life or wine, women and song, you know, I'm not too bothered about the song, but wine and women might corrupt you rather. We'll never know for sure. Well, that's not here. There's not much certainty here, is there, on earth? You may feel convinced, of course, that you should now go out on your own way, and then you'll start to find ways of doing so, and perhaps your society allows you to. You know, your parents don't have authority over you at 27, you know, whatever. You're reckoned in your society to be an adult, and in what we think of as a good society, the right to choose your religion or no religion, and that God's giving you such opportunity if you're in such a society. It's interesting if you're not. Well, if you're not, you're not. You're not meant to follow your religion on pain of death. I don't think God requires that of you. If you're not able to because of imposition of your society, which you can't get away from, assuming that's the case, then, well, you have to go with the flow and see, well, what are you teaching me here, Lord? I'm obviously meant to be in this society. I can't escape it. I would like to and would if I could, but I can't. So I'm still trusting you in as far as I can in this situation. And so you live accordingly. You give unto Caesar what seems to be Caesar's in the circumstance, but you give unto God your heart still. Something like that, I'm saying, isn't it? What do you think? It's a tricky area, isn't it? Bless you. May you be blessed in your love of God. And you're working out of these problems. And I don't want to presume to be teacher of it, of course. We want the Holy Spirit to teach you, don't we? In that sense, we want to be utterly devoted to God. By definition, don't we? Bless you. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.